Southport horror, bring back the death penalty. This video asks the question on many people's minds in the wake of the horrific murders of 3 young girls and severe injuries to others. Should the UK bring back capital punishment, the death penalty, for crimes as appalling as these? Hello, I'm Chan Abraham, and on this channel I bring uniquely insightful, thought-provoking and challenging messages covering the broadest range of any channel, including major issues in the news, in government, politics, leadership, faith, living with inspiration and hope, and helping us all to be part of the solution in our increasingly troubled world. Please do remember to hit the like, the subscribe and the bell buttons and help to share these unique messages. I appreciate it. In another video that I hope you've seen, I have said that we must call our leaders to account for the tragic loss of life and the depth of grief caused directly to the families and the community in Southport. But now people are openly asking the question about bringing back capital punishment, the death penalty, in the light of this awful experience. A man with a knife intentionally set out to murder innocent children and their carers in the most barbaric way. He has pleaded guilty to the crimes and has been sentenced to 52 years imprisonment. Many object to the fact that we are paying millions of hard-earned taxpayer pounds that it will cost to give him the comforts of prison life. The question being asked is, should the UK bring back the death penalty for extreme cases such as these? Many in modern Britain may not know that execution for different crimes is a historical reality and continues today in different countries. The last execution in Britain was in 1964 when 2 men were hanged for murder. The law was changed in 1965, and there's more detail about this and the fors and against in another video. Perhaps what we need to bear in mind is that the ancient Mosaic law in the Bible, upon which, of course, the British judicial system is based and all of our laws, that provided for the death penalty for murder in line with the 6th of the 10 Commandments, which states, "You shall not commit murder." Under the law of Moses, deliberate, intentional taking of one person's life by another is the ultimate wrongdoing, for which the just penalty is for the murderer to forfeit his or her life. And indeed, this was the situation in the UK until 1965. The test in criminal cases is that a jury must be able to assess that the evidence shows beyond reasonable doubt that the accused was guilty of the crime. In civil cases, it's a lower threshold where the evidence is weighed on the balance of probabilities. In other words, it is more likely than not that the accused person is guilty of the offence. But in a criminal case, the question to be satisfied in a reasonable person's mind is, does the evidence show that the accused is guilty? In the deadly attack in Southport, this was true. And indeed, the perpetrator also said he was guilty. So where should we go in Britain? Should those guilty of committing crimes such as in Southport, whether for one victim or for more, be subject to the death penalty? Now, while in some ways this is a complex discussion, in others it may be simple and clear. And I will give here some points for you to consider, and I would invite you to share your comments with me and with others in the comments section. Firstly, we have every right to expect our government, our police, our judiciary and all of our public institutions to protect us as British citizens and the lawful visitors to our nation. But they have failed, and unlawful mass immigration in particular, by men who have no connection with, respect for, or loyalty to Britain, our culture, our Christian heritage and our values. These place children and women especially at risk. That is evidenced by the continuing exposure of the Pakistani Muslim grooming gangs and the many reports of migrants being seen outside our schools, watching and filming our children, as well as reports of attempted or actual abductions. We want our government, our police, the BBC, all the media, the establishment to come clean and report matters such as the tragic and horrific event in Southport in real time. We want them to be transparent and work to keep the public safe. Cases such as this one should be fast-tracked through the courts. That happened with the people who were accused in August 2024 in the wake of the actions of the Southport murderer. We know that the only crime for some of those people was making social media posts, but some of them are in prison. There is no equivalence between those and the Southport murders. We need to have a public conversation about why our communities have become so unsafe and why there is so much fear and anxiety. And what we want our government, police and public institutions to do is to change the way things are being done in Britain. It is completely unacceptable and unsatisfactory. And we need to ask the question and move towards an answer decided by the people in a referendum about the reinstatement of the death penalty for terrorist offences in general, and specifically cases of murder such as in Southport. Anyone contemplating carrying out these acts should be certain that they will meet the full force of British justice. This would be deterrent and retribution, and each have their place in a just and law-abiding society. Let me close with this. Britain is badly broken, and dealing with this particular matter will not solve all of our problems. The way forward is to face up to each and every one of them, to call them out for what they are, and to demand action from all of those in leadership, holding them to account. The more of us who determine to be active in discussing these matters, raising them in our circles and our friendship groups, writing to our MPs, our local press, raising them in churches and other places, refusing to give in to the bullying tactics that have been around since 2020. The more we do that, the more we'll see progress. And we will see that we are changing Britain for good.